The popular experiment Love is Blind is returned for its 7th season on Netflix here in the U.S. And I am joined by one of the DC castmates, Monica. Monica, welcome to the Sami Show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
I am really excited to talk to you. I don't want to say favorites, right? Because not everyone's seen the show, but I do love the woman that you are and the strength that you exude from camera. Do you feel like, before we get into kind of the pods themselves, what was the filming experience like for you? And do you feel like you were able to be your true self?
You know, I appreciate you saying that. I got comfortable with the environment very quickly, so I think I was able to be myself. I think that this was such a serious thing for me, right? Like considering marriage,
Yeah.
and so I was definitely serious, like more of my serious qualities I think came out, but I was really comfortable in the environment. So I think you see the real me.
That's awesome. Can you give us any insights into the casting experience, or what led you to even consider? Some people might be like, oh my gosh, marriage after not meeting someone. What spot were you in your life that you thought, this is right for me right now?
Yeah, so it was all crazy timing. I've always been a big fan of the show. I love the show. And when I found out it was coming to DC, multiple people sent it to me. And I was actually recovering from the ending of a relationship and in a spot in my life where I was like very focused on me and growth and self-love. And so I thought, you know, I'll apply and
Yeah.
see what happens. I love, like, my favorite thing in the world is deep conversations with my girlfriends, like talking, getting to know someone. So I thought, like, this, I would do this. Like, but I didn't actually ever think it would happen.
Yeah.
And so I submitted an application. It was a 6-month process. And for me, as someone who was focusing on myself and healing from a breakup, I found the casting process to be really cathartic and a distraction. Like, there were just
Interesting.
things that they needed from me across that process.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know, got to take my mind off things, and then all of a sudden I was on my way to the pods.
It's interesting you say that too, because sometimes I think we watch as a fellow fan of the show and you think, you know, it's such a long process and they have to vet everyone, and yet I still feel like sometimes you find some people that maybe aren't there for the right reasons, or maybe some of the guys that aren't quite ready for marriage. Did you find that to be do you feel like you could sniff that out, or are you just in this kind of bubble of everyone is here and everyone's great?
I tried my best to be very cognizant of anything that I picked up on that felt disingenuous.
Yeah.
I think from my personal experience, for the most part, like, I thought that the men were incredible, and definitely because they were so vulnerable in that environment, it felt like they were different. And I'm going to actually say probably better than, like, most guys I dated in the traditional world.
Okay.
So just being able to have such serious conversations so early
So
with a
quickly.
man was really different for me. Yeah.
Sure.
So I
And
appreciated it.
well, that's good to hear. I appreciate hearing that. And you know, no spoilers, but more than any other season, I feel like the couples progressed differently this season. I don't I don't want to give anything away, but there were a lot of things that happened kind of on the way to the altar that affected the altar. Were you guys aware of that during the season? Are you in touch with each other, you know, because you're living with your partner, but then how much interaction is there off camera with the other couples?
I would say that there's quite a bit of communication for sure. Like, um, you know, we set up our group texts, and then of course, like, yes, we also saw each other quite a bit in person as often as we could, while still living our lives and doing what we needed to do. So yeah, I would say I got really close with the women, and still I'm close with them. So I feel like we were pretty aware.
Yeah.
Maybe not in real time, but
Sure.
pretty aware as to what was going on.
Yeah. Is there anything that surprised you now being on the other side of this, or any advice that you would give yourself back at the beginning in retrospect? Or dating advice
Yeah.
for any of us at that point, really?
Yeah, I think that I learned so much, truly. Like, I learned so much as a now 37-year-old woman, 36 when I filmed. I thought I, like, knew a lot of things, you know, about men, relationships, dating, myself. And I learned a ton. And the biggest thing I took away from it is never be afraid to show all of your cards.
Hmm.
Like being so upfront so early about your expectations, your hopes, your dreams, what you want out of a relationship, a partner, really served me. And creating an environment where I think the men felt so comfortable sharing. Like I could never date any other way now, thinking back to the past. Or so yeah, I think just putting it all out there and being really open and vulnerable was my biggest takeaway, and what I advise other people to do in relationships or dating.
Yeah, that's so good. Well, thank you for joining us today. If you're not already watching, you can check out season 7 of Love is Blind in DC on Netflix. Monica Davis, thank you so much for joining us today, and I wish you nothing but the best in your journey ahead.
Thank you so much for having me. It was so nice to be here, and yeah, thank you.
Absolutely.